Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video looking at media, focusing on media representations of gender. The way in which the media has represented different genders has undoubtedly changed over the last 30 years, yet many differences remain as to how males, females, and those who do not conform to binary definitions of gender are represented. As we move through the 21st century, there is a greater diversity, not only in media representations of gender, but also in how people construct their gender identity. In this video, we're going to look at some of the ways that different genders have been represented in the media over time, focusing first on how historically women have been represented in the media. Much historical research has focused on the disadvantaged position that women have held in representations within the media, and many of these still hold true today. Tushman et al. Examined the way in which the achievements of women faced symbolic annihilation in the media, being largely ignored by a male-controlled media. This is true of other social groups as well, with the dominant ideology of white upper-class males being transmitted through media sources, largely because the media is controlled by white upper-class males. Mulvey argued that women are often sexualized within the media, what she termed the male gaze, describing how women are objectified and presented for males to admire for their physical characteristics rather than their intellect. Further research by Ferguson suggests that the media has created a cult of femininity, how the media constructs what it is to be feminine, focusing on relationships, family, and how to conform to traditional gender stereotypes. This can be backed up by McRobbie's study of girl magazines in the 1970s, socializing young girls into the traditional expressive role in the family. Other research looks at the impacts on women's self-esteem, with Wolfe suggesting that the media creates a beauty myth for women to conform to, and how women need to conform to a standard that is promoted by the media to consider themselves attractive to men and wider society. This can be supported by Kilbourne, who suggested media representations of women were largely standardized. Women presented as slim, tall, with long legs and good hair, and those that fell outside of this standard were either absent or presented as unattractive. Finally, Laura Bates, founder of the Everyday Sexism campaign, suggested that in music media, women are often treated like decorations, their sole purpose being to look pretty in the background and placed in the video as status symbols for male sexual vitality, their presence serving only to show how virile the males were. However, there are changes to the way in which women are presented through the media. McRobbie argues that the media embraces forms of feminism, such as girl power, that promote a form of popular female empowerment, and this has led to more diverse representation of women in media. Gauntlet, writing in the early 21st century, also argued that the media landscape is evolving, and this is creating more positive representations of women. This can be evidenced through the increased presence of women within media outlets, with female presenters and reporters breaking into fields such as sport and politics that were once seen as being the preserve of males. However, despite these changes, there still remains an imbalance in positions of power, particularly ownership of media sources, which are largely male-dominated. When looking at gender representations in the media, we need to examine the way in which males are presented. Raewyn Connell suggested that males are expected to conform to the idea of hegemonic masculinity that is presented by the media. Males should be tough, unemotional, and decisive. The action hero trope remains prevalent within the media, particularly fictional media, to this day. However, McNamara found there was increasingly negative portrayals of men in the media, with almost 80% of portrayals being categorized as negative in their content analysis of media sources. A further consideration is the way in which males have become sexualized in the media and how this is perceived as acceptable. McRobbie argues that males are undergoing the same treatment as women have for decades within the media, particularly through advertising that is targeted as women, such as the infamous Diet Coke ads of the 1990s and early 21st century. This creates issues with male self-esteem, men having to contend with their own beauty myth of what a man should look like in the 21st century. A more recent innovation in media representations is how those that do not conform to the binary male-female ideas of gender are represented. As awareness of gender identities increases, there have been increased representations of gender nonconformity in the media. However, research suggests that this is often not a positive experience. Billard conducted research into representations of trans issues in US newspapers and found some spikes in representation of gender nonconformity at different intervals. Correlations were found between discussion in US newspapers such as the New York Times and Washington Post at times of media releases of films and other media sources that featured trans or non-binary characters. GLAAD conducted a content analysis over 10 years looking at how trans characters were categorized in fictional television programming and found largely negative portrayals. 40% of trans characters were victims, whilst a further 20% were depicted as sex workers. 21% were cast as antagonists, and anti-trans language was present in over 60% of programs where trans characters were present. It's clear to see that media representations of gender have changed over time, and we're seeing many of the techniques and tropes that were once applied to women being applied to males in the 21st century. Furthermore, concepts such as symbolic annihilation remain and can be evidenced, particularly when analysing the contributions of female politicians such as Theresa May, Liz Truss and Nicola Sturgeon, with the media focusing on their appearance rather than their politics, something often not applied to male politicians. There is, however, an evolution of the media through new media, which promotes gender inclusivity, addressing issues such as men's mental health, female empowerment and greater acceptance of gender nonconformity. But this is not without its problems. New media, in particular social media, lends itself to individuals having the ability to voice their criticisms, and often this enters the realm of trolling, cyberbullying and cancel cultures around issues of gender. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on media, looking at media representations of gender. Thanks for watching.